Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Haefner. Welcome to Sport Psych in a Minute, your weekly resource for insights and tips into the psychological side of equestrian sport. I mentioned last week that I'd been to the annual conference of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. And as you may suspect, we spent a lot of time there talking about energy. One of the challenges that I have with energy is that I don't always feel like what I mean by energy is the same thing that other people mean when they're talking about energy. I was trained as a physicist before I went into psychology, so a lot of times when I think about energy, I think about it from the science's perspective, and I think about electrical energy or electromagnetic energy, I think about radiation, I think about thermal energy, chemical energy, all of those different things. And I get the feeling sometimes when other people are talking about energy, they're talking about something less tangible, less measurable. And they talk about things like life energy in that sense. So in reflecting on all of this, one of the things that I realized is that when people talk about energy, at least from a healing perspective, they're generally talking about one or two things. They're either talking about, first, about regulating an overall level of energy, or secondly, they're going to be talking about energy flow and about relieving blockages. So taking the first one, when we talk about the overall level of energy, I think that's something that we can easily connect to. So if you're going into a class and you're feeling either really anxious or nervous or perhaps overly excited, one of the things we want to be able to do is to engage the parasympathetic nervous system and engage the thought processes and connect to the emotions, which are going to allow us to lower our overall level of energy. On the other side of things, sometimes we're tired, sometimes we're worn out, sometimes we just don't have the optimal level of energy that we need in order to function as best as we can. And in those cases, we're working on ways to find ways to charge ourselves up, to engage the sympathetic nervous system, to gather those thought patterns and emotions which are going to help raise our level of energy. Taking the second one, this idea of flow and removing blockages, we talked about that a few weeks ago when we talked about the flow of energy and information, and we introduced the idea of complex systems. There are times that for whatever reason, whether it be physical injury or emotional experience or other things, we find that there is a blockage of the flow of energy in our bodies or in our minds or in our experiences. And that when there are those blockages of energy, they create issues or difficulties for us. And what I'd like to do is to offer you an opportunity to reflect on that for yourself as a rider. Can you be or are you aware of times when, for example, we're all up in our emotions? And in that moment in our emotions, the energy is all around sustaining and operating in that emotional frame, and we lose connection to the world around us, people around us, our horse, we lose connection to parts of ourselves in our ability to rationally think things through or to connect through in our bodies. Likewise, do we find motions where one part of our body is disconnected to another? So can we have moments where there's tension and that tension is disconnected, for example, from our awareness or our intention? Okay. Another way is when we get caught up in our heads and thinking about things. Can you recognize moments where your thinking process is caught up in such a way that it's disconnected again from your awareness of your surroundings or the emotions that you're feeling or maybe from your physical body? These are all ways in which these blockages in terms of the flow of energy and information create challenges for us. And there's lots of ways that we can work to increase that flow to remove those blockages so that we can move towards a more ideal performance state, regardless of whether we want to perform in the context of competition or just for our own benefit and those of our horses as we ride every day. This has been Sport Psych in a Minute. I'll look forward to seeing you next week.